I have 3 kids from my previous relationship, tween to young teen, and I have an infant with my husband. I work from home, manage my own business, and pay half the bills. I also homeschool my 3 older kids because their school shut down a few months after the roof collapsed during our last big snowstorm. I do all the cooking and at least 80% of the chores. The kids do the rest. My husband's only chores are garbage, laundry once a week, and grocery shopping every other week. Since roughly December, my husband has been incredibly depressed but won't manage it in a healthy way, despite me urging him to get help. He's just been isolating and defensive. He works from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., gets home around 4:30, eats dinner, and hangs out with the kids for maybe a half an hour. He then goes to the garage or his truck to decompress. He returns inside around 8 p.m. to help me get the kids in bed. He then jumps on his computer or watches YouTube on his phone until he sleeps. Pretty much every single weekend since March, he's been going out with his buddies as well. So typically, the only day he's actually home is Sunday. Usually his buddies ask for him to help with their vehicles, or he runs errands, going to the dump, fixing his vehicle, helping his mom, etc. So realistically, my kids and I only have his attention for at most an hour a day, if that, even on his days off. Unfortunately, he and I have gotten into at least 3 fights since December because of his lack of attentiveness and his constant excuse of, I worked all day and week and need time to myself. It's truly just the lack of empathy that drives me insane because I have 0 breaks, but he still feels like he should be entitled to more and more breaks as the days go on. So we have fought about it. I will bring it up calmly, and he'll get defensive and blow up and pull the repetitive, I work all darn day talk. The last big fight we had a couple of weeks back, I told him I was leaving. I started packing. He begged me to stay, said he would try to be better, and suggested we rent a boat for this past weekend so we could all reconnect and have a nice family weekend. I ultimately forgave him because he showed a lot of effort after that. When he got home from work, he was present. He didn't go out during the weekend with his buddies as he had been. We went on a few walks together, just us and the kids. Collectively, we were still only getting to hang out with him for maybe 1.5 hours, but he was inside and more present either way. I thought things were looking up. Well, he paid the down payment, half the cost of the boat 2 weeks ago, when we discussed it, and I was due to pay the other half upon picking up the boat this Friday. However, he told me on Thursday night that he decided he didn't want my older children to go. He asked me if I would just have my mom watch my older children so it could just be me, him, and the baby on the boat. I asked him why, and he said, because I need a break from the kids. So I was angry and snapped back. Oh, you mean you need a break from your stepkids? Your kid is fine, but let's push my kids away because you need a break from them. He said I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but I don't think I did. The kids knew about the trip and were excited. If I dropped my older kids off with my mother and still brought the baby out because my husband decided he needed a break from them, they would be extremely hurt. He kept saying we can bring them next time, but I told him no thanks and said I wouldn't be paying the other half of the boat cost. He can pay it and bring out his buddies, or he can forfeit the money he put into it already, as it was non-refundable. I didn't end up paying him and he lost $450. He's still angry at me, stating that I made a mound out of a molehill, but I don't think I did. He's hardly near my kids ever, so his needing a break from them and not his kid is wild. Am I the idiot? Edit. But the thing is, his friend from high school moved back to this area, and in December, this friend of his started asking him to go out with him all the time. Every weekend, they started bar hopping, staying out until 5 a.m., going over to random people's houses that his buddy knew, and staying there all night. There were even a few nights when he didn't come home and would pull in around 9 to 10 a.m. During that time, he acted like nothing was wrong. He never mentioned anything. He didn't act depressed. But when I started calling him out on it, he was all of a sudden so depressed and afraid of being a bad dad. It literally was not until I called him out on it, though. He was not like this before he got depressed. My older children's father passed away during deployment when I was pregnant with my tween. I got together with my husband when my tween was a toddler, and he was always an amazing father figure. He refused to do anything without me and the kids, calls my kids his children. When he got depressed around Christmas time, everything changed. That does line up with everything being the friend. The friend must have introduced something new: drugs, other women, alcohol, and the best one, earbuds. It may be that this friend has been talking into one ear. How much freedom, money, etc. would he have without those darn kids who aren't his? Why should he do anything for them? They're not his. Why should he spend his time with them? Why is he with a ball and chain when he could be living life? I'd say the friend has to go. No texting, calling, or hanging out. I'll bet you'll see improvements when the friend disappears. You seem to know exactly when his behavior changed. When behavior changes, so did something else in his life. Nothing happens in a vacuum. No matter how secretive they are, somebody somewhere knows something. Yep, I'm betting it's exactly this. The friend is poisoning him against OP and her kids. The friend has got to go. No question. The staying out, the new best friend, the going to random people's houses, the hiding and everything. Either he is depressed at home because he isn't high, or he is high and avoiding the family so you don't find out. There's absolutely no question. I've seen many people go down this road, and this is exactly the behavior you listed in this comment. He could be cheating or gambling mixed in with it, but he's absolutely using heavily. OP, he's no longer interested in being a father and a husband. You need to divorce this fool. Just wish he could have been honest to begin with, so you didn't have to make a kid with him or marry him. You are not the idiot, my dear. Your post reads like a Lifetime movie. You probably shouldn't have him as your insurance beneficiary and should not go on boat trips alone with him. Please be careful. My older brother has a lot of stepkids. His wife, Tori, has 2 kids from her first marriage, then a son, Liam, teen, from a random hookup, and 1 more kid from a long-term relationship. My brother has a daughter, nearly adult, as well. From what he tells me, Liam's the only one without an active dad and who lives with him full-time, as my biological niece primarily lives with her mom. I assume Liam living with them full-time meant he would get quite a bit of attention, but my niece told me that they all seem to forget about him. She's told me that her stepmom once said that Liam's the extra and not as cute as her other kids. It was a joke. Anyway, Tori invited the whole family over for dinner. At one point, they told us all to gather around, and Tori told us she was pregnant. Everyone started cheering. I'll admit I was too, but my niece drew my attention to Liam, who started crying and walked off. Niece and I followed him, and when I asked him if everything was okay, he started crying in my arms. I felt so terrible. My niece took him out for ice cream to cheer him up, while I returned to the others. They were all very preoccupied, and my sister started talking to one of our nieces, not Tori's kids. This nephew then tells us that while he didn't make a team, Liam did. My brother was quite surprised because he's a massive fan of this sport and had no clue Liam was interested, as he always thought he was a quieter, nerdy kid. This nephew sort of laughed and said, Liam's not a quiet, nerdy kid. The opposite, actually. He's very popular at school. After finishing his conversation with the nephew, he approached me and said, maybe nephew's confused. Liam's not that type of kid. I asked him what kind of kid he thinks Liam is. My brother said he doesn't talk to Liam much, but according to Tori, he's socially awkward, sensitive, and a little needy. Tori overheard and was like, Liam, is he bothering you? Next time he tries to talk to you, run, or else he'll never leave you alone. He really is needy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, especially after how much Liam cried earlier. I told Tori and my brother that they should be ashamed of themselves. I then specifically told Tori that she should have kept her legs closed if she didn't want needy children. My brother kicked me out, which I deserved, but Tori's furious and keeps sending me messages about how rude I am and how I don't know anything about her, etc. I even got yelled at by my mom. I sincerely believe they're all screwed in the head. Am I the idiot? Edit. Tori has 4 kids. The 2 eldest have the same dad who's very involved. Liam's dad is a deadbeat, and the 4th child has a different but also very involved dad. My niece, my brother's kid, and the new baby, my brother and Tori's kid, make the total number of kids 6. I'm not giving my brother a free pass. I believe he's a darn idiot, and the fact that he doesn't know crap about his stepson is terrible. Yes, I yelled at Tori mostly because she's the one who kept calling her own son needy. She's the one who told me to run away from him if he talks to me. That's why I yelled at her specifically. Not the idiot. Your niece is a gem for noticing and telling you about Liam's treatment. You need to sit down with your brother and sister-in-law, maybe with your niece there, and tell them what happened at the party. Or at least talk to your brother. I can't believe he's so blind and doesn't see what happens to Liam in his own house. Can you spend time with Liam? Poor kid. Poor Liam. Your brother and his mom already neglect him, and now a new baby will come in and take all the attention. They don't even know he plays sports. I was very much on your side until the legs closed comment. That was an idiot thing to say. However, everyone's the idiot here because it's a bit of a hot mess. OP is not the idiot. Why do we need to be nice and considerate of bad parents? A crappy parent who whines about being a parent deserves to be called exactly what they are. Your comment to Tori was a little nasty, but she needs to start parenting her kids and paying attention to Liam instead of getting another child right now. I cannot imagine just straight up ignoring my child to the point that I didn't even know he was playing on a sports team. Tori's a monster, and you were right to stand up to her. I, 32 female, am currently pregnant with my second child. My first child is a tween. He's the only grandchild in either family at the moment. I had some infertility issues after him. I could get pregnant but miscarried pretty quickly, and after the third miscarriage, I wasn't able to get pregnant again. I had some depression, gained some weight, and it just sucked. Then I decided to get it back together, lost 30 pounds, and bam, pregnant. Weird as heck. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do have some ways of making money, and that's nice, but for us, this was just the better plan. The money I made working pretty much just went to childcare. It wasn't worth it. Anyway, I have two sisters who are also pregnant, and my sister-in-law is pregnant as well. We're all due within about 6 weeks of each other. I am ridiculously excited to be having a baby, and ridiculously excited to be an aunt. However, I'm not excited to be babysitting that many babies by myself. When my oldest was born, it was just him. He was an easy baby, and even then it was absolutely exhausting. I was much younger back then, so I had more energy. Since I'm a stay-at-home mom, everyone expects me to be the primary babysitter. I kind of assumed I would be too. However, I didn't assume I would have one simultaneously as everyone else. I kind of figured I wasn't going to ever get pregnant again, and I'd resigned myself to only having one. I also kind of thought it would be spaced out a little more, and not all at the same time. Anyway, am I the idiot if I told everyone I can't keep all the babies on the same day, and for them to have backup babysitters? Edit. I really don't know if I can handle that many at one time, and I'm really worried I'll either be so overwhelmed I can't handle it, or I'll go into depression again and not be able to do everything, and they won't get the appropriate care. I also have to think about my older son, and I don't want him to feel left out. I still have to be a mom to my own babies. I just really don't know if I can. I want to think I can. I'm so excited to be an aunt, and I can't wait to love and spoil all of them. But honestly, it's also kind of terrifying. However, I know how expensive childcare is, and I know how terrifying it is to leave your baby with someone you don't know. So that's another thing that makes me feel awful about it. So, 4 infants alone? And recovering postpartum? You are the idiot to yourself and your kids. I'm shocked you have to ask, what is wrong with your family? Stop being a doormat and take care of your own children. Even without you being pregnant, 3 newborns is not something anyone can or should do alone. Exactly. You don't have to babysit any of their kids. If they need childcare, they need to pay. If they want a date night, it better come with an even swap. Your choice to be a stay-at-home mom only applies to your husband. Anyone that feels entitled to your free childcare needs to move right along. A friend had triplets, and her husband works from home, and they still had a nanny to help out. What happens when they're all crying at the same time? You will also lose out on the special time that is infancy with your child. You will resent it. And all first-time moms, they'll be criticizing you and wanting special things for their baby times 4. Your tween will also be at risk of being parentified with that many babies around and them needing care. Don't feel awful for refusing to babysit, or even bad in the slightest. I know plenty of parents who have to make it work. It isn't your responsibility. They shouldn't be relying on you. For some context, I married my wife almost right out of college at age 22. Many people said I was rushing things, but we didn't care. My grandma loved my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and she knew I was a broke college kid, so she offered me her old engagement ring to give to her. It was an amazing surprise. She and my grandpa were married 50 years before he passed away, and I love having the ring to be a part of my marriage as well. It's not important to me, but for context, it is a very nice ring that if brand new would probably be more than $10K. She unfortunately passed away 2 years ago. It's been 7 years now, and now my brother, I'll call him Charlie 31, who's been with his girlfriend for 6 years, wants to propose. Unfortunately, he's been hit by a layoff this year, so money's a little tight for him. He asked me, since I got my ring for free, if I'd go in with him to pay for an engagement ring. I honestly thought that was ridiculous. If he had asked for a loan, I may have been open, but he just straight up asked me to pay for part of it. My wife and I are fortunate to have good jobs, but we have a kid now and are trying for another, so we're not big spenders. His girlfriend has a good job, but for obvious reasons, he doesn't want to ask her to pay for her own engagement ring. I personally think he should just pay for the ring he can afford, and if she wants to at a later time in life, upgrade it when their finances are better. He's telling me I'm an idiot who lucked out with a free ring and saying that I'm being selfish by not at least helping. I feel like that's a little ridiculous, but when I was telling my coworker about it, he said he understood Charlie's point and that I did luck out. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where timing in life did not play out to treat you and your sibling with an exact equal result. But it's not your job to even out your grandmother's gift to you. It sounds like your grandmother's connection to your now wife was a factor in her decision. You're correct that your brother should save up and buy a ring within his means. It's still about the sentiment and thought that counts, not about the value. I would have said that there were no idiots if he had simply asked and accepted your no with grace, but calling you selfish puts this solidly in the not the idiot for me. You have your own expenses. Why is bro getting engaged now? What's the rush? It's weird that they've been together for 6 years, and he's thinking of proposing now that he's been laid off. He's waited 6 years. He can wait until he gets a job and saves the money. You don't owe him anything. Your grandma died 2 years ago after he'd been with his girlfriend for 4 years. She had plenty of time to gift him something, like whatever she gave your mom and aunt, but chose not to. It's not your responsibility to make up for it. He's spending Christmas with her whole extended family and wants to be able to celebrate the engagement with them. I understand, but that doesn't mean he needs to spend more than he can afford on a ring. Before my grandma gave me hers, I found some pretty ones for $500 and less. I know he can afford that. I'm sorry, but your brother's priorities are backwards. If my sister, daughter, or cousin, take your pick, came home with an expensive ring, and I found out that the fiancé had just lost his job, I'd be side-eyeing the fiancé and judging their relationship like crazy, because no way would I believe that the fiancé had enough sound financial judgment to take good care of my loved one. I also would possibly be whispering words of caution in private to my loved one while waiting for their relationship to implode. You gave your brother good sound advice. Your brother's doing himself a disfavor by disregarding it and throwing his little tantrum.